Meghan Markle tells Mariah Carey she was not treated as a black woman until she started dating Prince Harry. My Family, Meghan's Ashley's podcast on Spotify is finally out, and it contains so many bombshells and also talks about Meghan's personal experience with race. And My Family, a couple of years ago, Meghan participated in a campaign to stop and end racism, that I won't stand for racism. Meghan talked about how whereby in an incident she was with her mom and someone used the N-word on her mom, and that clearly hurt Meghan. When Meghan began dating Prince Harry, that was the time whereby she began being treated as a black woman. That was the time whereby people started seeing that indeed Meghan's mom has dreadlocks. And thus the racial abuse began against Meghan and towards Meghan. You've heard the so-called carnival or so-called experts like Dicky Arbiter saying that, look, Harry and Meghan's relationship was just but a fling. It won't go anywhere. Why? Because Meghan is a biracial woman. And they couldn't stand it. They didn't think that a biracial woman will marry into the royal family. But fast forward to now, Meghan is Prince Harry's dearly beloved wife, and they have 2 kids together. And the thing is, Meghan has experienced a lot of racism from the tabloid press, from these supposed monarchist Prince William and Kate Middleton's fans. She's experienced so much racism. And today, both Mariah Carey and Meghan have both sat down together. They have discussed growing up mixed and the struggles of not fitting in or identifying with a specific race. And she says this, and I quote, "For us, it's so different because we are light-skinned." Meghan says, "You are not treated as a black woman. You are not treated as a white woman. You sort of fit in between," Meghan says of her experiences. And I want you to hear this, tiny recording from the conversation between Meghan and Mariah Carey. I want you to hear this.
But in a world where you're the mixed kid of a full-on white neighborhood, that's what you get.
Yeah. Look, and this is part of why when I was putting this conversation together, I had to talk to you. Of course I had to talk to you. You were so formative for me. Representation matters so much. But when you are a woman and you don't see a woman who looks like you somewhere in a position of power or influence, or even just on the screen, because we know how influential media is, you came onto the scene. It's like, oh my gosh, someone kind of looks like me.
Did you feel like, I know that this person is, like, I can tell she's black and white?
Yes.
I can tell she's...
Yes, I could feel that. Yeah, even at that young age. And it's so funny because I remember when I was young, I can't put a number to it. I would imagine
we
like
don't
12
want a number.
or 13.
Meghan, we don't want a number.
We're try to do the calculations. We don't...
Because they're going to try and do the calculations. We don't want a number, Meghan. And Mariah Carey tells that to Meghan. And this part is just, so funny. It's clear that both Mariah Carey and Meghan have been through a lot. I mean, Mariah Carey herself, has been through so much in her personal life. Clearly, from what she said, she's had, in her upbringing, she's had to move a lot from place to place, different places. And My Family, I want to just share with you more on what was said. But first, let's finish this tiny audio.
When I was talking, this one was
Eternally Child.
Eternally, you're looking great. When I'd read this article about Halle Berry, and they were asking her how she felt being treated as a mixed race woman in the world. And her response was her saying, well, your experience through the world is how people view you. So she said because she was darker in color, she was being treated as a black woman, not as a mixed.
Your experience in the eyes of the world is how people view you. Now, I want to hear that once again.
how she felt being treated as a mixed race woman in the world. And her response was her saying, well, your experience through the world is how people view you.
Your experience through the world is how people view you, how they see you. And let's continue.
So she said because she was darker in color, she was being treated as a black woman. Not
because she was darker in color, she was being treated as a black woman.
Not as a mixed woman.
Right.
And I think for us it's so different because we're light-skinned. You're not treated as a black woman. You're not treated as a white woman. You sort of fit in between. I mean, if there's any time in my life that it's been more focused on my race, it's only once I started dating my husband. Then I started to understand what it was like to be treated like a black woman, because up until then I had been treated.
It was only when Meghan began dating Prince Harry, that's when they saw the race. That's when race became a factor. And that's why you had the likes of Dickie Arbiter saying that, hey, look, guess what? Meghan's, relationship to Prince Harry is just but a fling when Prince Harry and Meghan were still back dating. And my family, clearly, they never expected for Prince Harry and Meghan to get married, to fall in love and even get married. To be quite frank with you, I personally believe that the only reason that the royal family had no choice but to just say, okay, it's fine, you can get married, is because Meghan's complexion is just, appears white. I believe that that's the only reason, because we do know for a fact from Thomas Markle himself that the royal family actively tried to stop Prince Harry's wedding to Meghan from Thomas Markle himself. We know that for a fact. Clearly, there was so much right there that showed that the royal family were doing a lot to try and stop Harry's marriage to Meghan. And my family, this conversation is very, very much insightful and brings back so many memories to both Meghan and also Mariah Carey. Let's finish this part.
Like a mixed woman. And things really shifted.
But that's an interesting thing, a mixed woman, because I always thought it should be okay to say I'm mixed. Like, it should be okay to say that, but people want you to choose.
People want you to choose. People want you to choose. That part by Mariah Carey is very much clear. When you look at what happened to Meghan, for instance, Meghan, was told not to speak about race. We've heard from the so-called carnival of so-called experts and even the right-wing media owned by the Murdochs and the Rothmans that when you speak openly about Black Lives Matter, you are told, hey, look, this is political. It's a political issue. So my life is politics to you. It shows that, first of all, you don't see me as a human being. It shows that already you're dehumanizing me by saying that talking about Black Lives Matter is a political issue. It's not a political issue. It is a human rights issue. A human rights issue. The only problem is that you don't see me as a human being. And that's why you dehumanize me. That's why the negative press towards the likes of Meghan. And that's partly the reason why, people like Meghan have had to experience so much harassment, the bullying, the racism towards her and also her children. That's why when Meghan was pregnant, tabloids did not care that she was pregnant with a child, because already they passed their judgment towards Meghan and Archie based on the fact that they are biracial. They deemed them unworthy of Prince Harry, unworthy of marrying into the royal family. My family, you've already seen how they treated Meghan. All of you have. And that's why we formed this amazing family to condemn the racism, to condemn the hatred that tabloid media owned by Murdochs and Rothmans have been waging against both Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet Diana. We've seen that happen in real time, where a baby has been bullied over a name because a father chose to name the baby after Lily Diana. All the other members of the royal family, all the white children in the royal family have been called or named after Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. And because Meghan's child and Prince Harry's child is biracial, Lily Diana was bullied over the name chosen for her because they saw her as unworthy. That's how tabloids have viewed her. That's how the farm have viewed baby girl Lily Diana. And that's why they bullied a pregnant woman. They never cared that Meghan was pregnant, to the point that a pregnant woman wanted to take her own life. Meghan. My family, there are so many incidences of how cruelly and how abhorringly the farm and tabloid media have treated Meghan. It's just so wrong. It's so wrong. And my family, I'm thankful for this conversation between Meghan and Mariah Carey. Both of them are just special people with good, kind hearts. So it's nice to see them talking about this matter. It's so, so important. Representation matters. Representation matters. It matters. And I'm glad that both Meghan and Mariah Carey have both said that. Representation matters. You know, Meghan has said this, that you are so formative for me. Representation matters so much, she said. But when you're a woman and you don't see a woman who looks like you somewhere in a position of power or influence, or even just on the screen, because we know how influential media is, you came onto the scene. I was like, oh my gosh, someone kind of looks like me. And the thing is, my family, we've heard from the so-called carnival of so-called experts themselves on their views about, Meghan, on their views about the women who are supposed to marry into the royal family. My family, I'm talking about Meghan's experiences in the royal family. I'm talking about how the so-called carnival of so-called experts, have covered and what they themselves have said, about Meghan. I mean, we've heard from Dan Wootton, a so-called carnival of so-called expert working for GB Propaganda, the same propaganda news outlet that a death threat was issued against Prince Harry and Meghan by Eamon Holmes, Prince Charles and Camilla's personal friend. And my family, that person, Dan Wootton, said that as a monarchist, he believes that members of the royal family should be whiter than white. Not just white, as Meghan looks, but whiter than white. Those are Dan Wootton's words. And my family, the farm, shares those views. And that's why they did everything in their power to try and stop Harry's marriage to Meghan, which Thomas Markle himself revealed on an interview on Sunrise TV. And my family, unfortunately, the royal family, the farm, couldn't see just how important representation is. And so they bullied and chased Meghan out of the UK. And my family, it is just so wrong. It's so wrong, it's so wrong, it's so wrong. And I'm glad that Meghan is having this kind of conversation. Representation matters. Representation, it matters. It's important. Now Meghan, alluding to another trailblazing woman in Hollywood, Meghan continued and said this: I had read this article about Halle Berry, and they were asking for her how she felt being treated as a mixed race woman in the world. And her response was her saying, well, your experience through the world is how people view you. So she said because she was darker in color, she was being treated as a black woman, not a mixed woman. Again, the matter involving colorism, which Dr. Shola even spoke about herself about it. That perhaps the only reason that even the royal family, though reluctant about Harry marrying Meghan, said, okay, fine, had no choice but to accept, because they saw, listen, Meghan, appears white. And that's why even the reason why, the royal family had questions about had concerns, about how Archie will look. And my family, there are so many things that Meghan has experienced. And this conversation that she's had is so, so important to put many things into perspective. Because my family, remember one thing, the reason why Meghan, decided to create archetypes, they said the labels that hold women back. She's used everything that has been thrown towards her to keep other women from experiencing what she has experienced personally. And thus archetypes also showing just how kind-hearted Meghan truly is. What a remarkable woman she is. She's gone through a lot, and she doesn't want others to go through the same thing that she has gone through. And if you do go through it, then don't let those labels hold you back. And now, you've heard from, Meghan talking about Halle Berry. First of all, there's something that you know. Prince Harry had a crush, on Halle Berry when he was actually at Eton. When he was studying at Eton. And the thing is about Prince Harry, I love how even from a long time ago, Prince Harry clearly showed that he was different from other members of the royal family. Clearly, because he had a picture, first of all, of Halle Berry in his bedroom at Eton. And my family, I have, more talk about on this. Because, first of all, let me continue what Meghan said. I mean, if there's any time in my life that has been more focused on my race, it's only once I started dating my husband. Then I began to understand what it was like to be treated like a black woman, Meghan said, referencing her relationship with Prince Harry, because up until then, I have been treated like a mixed woman, and things really shifted. In reply, Mariah Carey said this, that feeling forced to choose between identifying as black or white was an interesting thing. As a mixed woman, because I always thought it should be okay to say I'm mixed, like it should be okay to say that, but people want you to choose, she said, to which Meghan agreed. My family, this conversation contains a lot. Shows that both Mariah Carey and Meghan have been through a lot. And I'm thankful for this platform in which Meghan has, in Spotify, through her Ashley's podcast, she's able to speak about this. Because in the royal family, she wasn't allowed to speak about these issues. As a matter of fact, Meghan was supposed to be quiet about these issues, matters involving race, are considered to be political. Imagine things having to do with Black Lives Matter being called, by right-wing media as being political issue. My family, it's a human rights issue. And it hurts me personally to see that some people, in the media are saying that Black Lives Matter is a political issue. It hurts me. It hurts me from the bottom of my heart, because I've had those kinds of comments from Murdoch-owned TV shows. I've seen that from Murdoch-owned papers and Rothmere-owned papers. And my family, it hurts so bad to hear that it's a political matter. When we talk about, Black Lives Matter, when we have that conversation. And my family, Prince Harry spoke about it a while back on Black Lives Matter when he spoke to activist Patrick Hutchinson for British GQ in an interview published a while back, during which Prince Harry highlighted the need for others to educate themselves about how to be an anti-racist. No one's blaming anybody, Harry said. That's the way that I look at it. No one's pointing fingers. You can't really point fingers, especially when it comes to unconscious bias. But once you realize or you feel a little bit uncomfortable, then the onus is on you to go out and educate yourself, because ignorance is no longer an excuse. When Prince Harry said that, on taking an active role in fighting racism, tabloid media was saying that Harry was venturing into politics. Hearing that truly hurt me personally. It really hurt me personally to hear that. Our lives are not a political issue. It's a human rights issue. It's so wrong that George Floyd lost his life because of racism. Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, it's so wrong. When I hear what's happening, for instance, in the US, it's so wrong. And my family, I am thankful so much to Meghan and Prince Harry for openly talking about this issue. I am thankful. And also to Mariah Carey for speaking about this. With Meghan, I am thankful so much from the bottom of my heart to these beautiful icons, Mariah Carey and Meghan as well. Two beautiful, remarkable women using the platforms they have to make this world a better place, to fight racism, and saying in one voice together, representation matters. Representation matters. My family, it's a shame that the monarchy, the farm, couldn't see that it bullied Meghan every single day to the point that a pregnant woman wanted to take her own life. The point that Harry and Meghan had no choice but to leave. However, I am happy that Prince Harry and Meghan packed up and left and said enough is enough with the racism. They've had enough putting up with watching their son being called the N-word by tabloid media, the so-called carnival or so-called experts working for the Rotter. And my family, I want to hear your opinion about Meghan's conversation with Mariah Carey. I want to hear your opinion about all of this. Thank you so much for this emotional conversation. Thank you so much. And it's a shame that the royal family, the farm, treated Meghan, the first biracial woman to marry into the royal family, so abhorrently, and treated her children the same way. Their kids, Archie and Lady Diana, the same way. It's a shame. And I'm thankful that Meghan is using her platform with Mariah Carey. Their voices together united to fight this, fight racism, and say representation, it matters. Representation matters. Both of them are saying that in one voice, and I'm thankful to both of them. And my family, thank you to also Prince Harry for educating himself on this issue, on this matter, and choosing to join the fight against racism. My family, I want to hear your opinion about this, Spotify podcast. And with that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and support our ever-growing family on YouTube. I want to hear your opinion about all this, my family. And may God bless each and every single one of you. Bless your families, bless Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lady Diana. And thank you, and stay tuned to our next video. Please go ahead and listen in to this Spotify podcast by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Archetypes on Spotify. Please tune in and listen. And stay tuned to our next video. Live family, always and forever. Hello, members of Zesco Family TV. First of all, I want to say thank you for all your support that you give us to our channel. We don't take it for granted that you support this channel. I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for lending out your support and fighting against injustices, supporting Prince Harry and Meghan, showing them love. Love will always triumph over evil, and for that I say thank you. Good will always prevail over bad. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for joining this community, this amazing community of Zesco Family TV. I love you so much, family, from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you all the best. May you have a great day, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things. With that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Leave a comment below, like, and subscribe. Love you, family, always and forever. Sayonara.